She's a television journalist, mother of 3, and she's on a mission to talk to public figures about their experiences when it comes to parenting. With guests like Chelsea Clinton and Kelly Rowland, host Kanika Chadda-Gupta features a star-studded lineup for this episode of Evergreen Spotlight. I'm your host, Julie Holiday. Kanika, welcome. Thank you so much for being a part of Evergreen Spotlight.
Thank you, Julie. It is my pleasure.
Okay, so first things first, your show features huge name guests, and I can barely get some of my friends to call me back, so we would love to know how you land these interviews.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's definitely a journey. You're not going to be at the place where it's like, have my people call your people right away. That takes time. I would say, my background in television has helped. I began my career as a CNN correspondent, and I did that for many years. And I worked as an executive producer for a global cable network. And so I do have my feelers out in the entertainment world, which has helped. But let's see, I can share, the big interview that I landed on my own. That was, I feel like that really kicked things off. It was with Rebecca Minkoff. I was in my first year in 2019, and we were part of a group called Hey Mama, and they are just a members only group. And we had meetups in New York City, but also stayed in touch over email. And one thing that was just so unique about this, organization and collective was that we could just rattle off our ass in email. We had to just write subject line, #ISO in search of, and like whatever you needed. So it could be, ISO, babysitter in Miami the weekend of, April 16th to 20th or whatever it was. And all of these moms in Hey Mama would galvanize to help you and be like, I know someone, I have a friend, and they would just hook it up. Or it could be something work related, like, I'm having supply chain issues in China. Does anyone have a manufacturer who does this? And so Rebecca had written back to an ISO I wrote for a friend. I was asking for a friend. She wanted to look into like behavioral specialists in the New York area. And she wrote me back with some doctors' names. And then I said, oh my gosh, thank you so much for writing to me. My friend's going to be really happy with these referrals. And then I wrote back and I said, by the way, I have a podcast called That's Total Mom Sense. I've always been a fan of you as a person and designer. I'd love to have you on the show. And she just wrote back like, sure, looping in my assistant, let's get it on the calendar.
Amazing.
And that was that.
Amazing.
If you can do in person, I feel like that always, kind of sets the tone, sparks a friendship. And after the interview, she was really pleased with how much research I had put in. I just knew so many little nuances of her life because I listened to a podcast she was in and read, articles. She hadn't released her book by that point, but I did go on to read her book, Fearless. And so I said, do you have friends in your network whom you think should be on the show?
Nice.
And she said, I definitely do. And she put me in touch with my friend Rachel Goldstein, who put me in touch with Gabby Bernstein. So that's how I got Gabby on the show. And then let's see, there's some other dots to connect. Nikeo Camoche Grico. She is someone who's a Black founder. She started a company called 13 Loon and is in the beauty industry. And so Nikeo was on the show. So it's like once you're in, and in the most genuine way, like really cultivating authentic friendships, then everybody's like, of course I have friends who should be on your show. You're awesome.
I love that bit of marketing that you did where it was like, do you know anyone else that I could have on my show? That was really smart of you. And you also mentioned too, meeting them in person. So do you do that often? Yeah. Do you do your podcast like in person?
Yes, I've gotten back into that because I live in Jersey and I'm literally a stone's throw away from New York. This whole tri-state area, it is pretty easy to, book a space or a venue and meet in the city to film and record. And so I have been doing that now. During the pandemic, different story. Everything was virtual, but yeah, I feel like, it's not something that you can do every week for weekly episodes. That's the cadence that I have with the show and have since the beginning. But I feel like, I can definitely do, 12 episodes in a year that are in person.
Mother's Day is coming up and, just in lieu of that, I would love to talk about motherhood and these celebrities that you speak with, these high profile women. What is something that you have found that has been a common thread that maybe they struggle with or maybe that they're hoping to do in their role as a mom?
Yes. I would say I always seek out those who lead a life of purpose. And they strive to be cycle breakers as parents. I think I gravitate towards that because that's really what the genesis of the show was for me. I knew that God bless my parents; they're amazing and they did the best that they could as immigrants from India. But I knew there were some things that everyone has like big T, little T traumas. And it's like, I want to make sure that I'm, well-researched and not, there's nothing that you can do by reading a book all the time. It's through conversations and stories. Just like, I want to just learn from others. And there could be this high-profile CEO or this movie star or this best-selling author or the person down the street that has a different way to parent. And I want to glean that advice from them. What are their life lessons? So that's definitely the common thread is like, are you taking what you experienced in your childhood and trying to help create, a more supportive one for your kids? Because it's, anyone can just, have kids and be a parent, but it takes really concerted effort to like want to empower your kids. So it's like friends were asking like, this person's famous. Do you want them on your show? And I was like, fame isn't the common denominator.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I go a little deeper than that, a lot deeper than that. So then, I look for that, the purposeful life and the cycle breaking. And for some, gems of wisdom, I really went there with a lot of my guests. I just re-aired my episode with Chelsea Clinton. And, I grew up just outside DC. So I remember when she was first daughter and I just always wondered, I was like, what's it like for Chelsea going to Sidwell Friends and living in the White House? Like it felt so close to home. And so to be able to ask her that, and we're in the same generation. So, and we're both moms of 3 now. We related on a completely different level, which was so cool.
Yes.
And, I said, what was it like growing up, being in a fishbowl and you're an only child and now you're raising 3. And, even, her mom, Hillary, wrote It Takes a Village. I remember when the book came out, and so she definitely lives by that. And she said it's so important to have a multi-generational village around you. And she actually wrote a book called Welcome to the Big Kids Club. And it was something that she was just poured her heart into because it's for her older kids when they were expecting their 3rd son. So then she was like, I'm just going to prepare them for this baby on the way, and it was just so sweet. She was like, I never had siblings, so this is totally new to me, but it's something that, she intuitively knew. Like, I think they're going to want to know, like, how the dynamics change when our family is expanding. So that was cool. And then with, let's see, Kelly Rowland, we had a really heartfelt chat. This was sponsored by March of Dimes.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it was so cool. We spoke about, well, I opened with, I sang to her. I just went there and I was like, I said, I'm going to say her name. And she was like, just like flabbergasted and was like, girl, I was like, I am fangirling right now. I can't believe I'm having this tete-a-tete with, I grew up with Destiny's Child. Like it's just, it feels surreal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that set the tone, and then we talked about the Black maternal health crisis, and what March of Dimes is doing to alleviate that and the disparities that happen, in the healthcare system. And so, we had that conversation, but we also talked about family life and her 2 sons. And, one thing that she went through that, again, we can all draw parallels in our own life. She lost her mother, Doris, before she had her son. And it was the hardest time and the most happiest time of her life. And so during that time, she thought, I should reconcile with my dad. She was raised by this fierce single mother her whole life and didn't really know much about him. And it's a really good thing that she allowed herself to forgive. And she reached out and she felt at such ease when everything was squashed. She didn't know his side of the story. Many of us are in partnerships and relationships now. We know the work that it takes to keep a marriage. And so she saw him in a whole new light. And then he became the active grandparent in both her kids' lives. So even though she lost her mom,
beautiful,
she gained her father. So just having those kind of soulful conversations, oh my gosh, it fills me up. It's like therapy, only more fun.
Yeah,
just,
and with celebrities.
Even more. Yeah, exactly. It's not a day of my work feels like, a chore at all. It's just, it's
when
really
I listen to your show, I feel so
really
encouraged, and even just to hear you speak. And I think what I'm taking from that, the most of those nuggets that you just shared, are that it's not just about the kids. Parenting. I think we can be so focused. I'm a stepmom, so I can get so hyper focused on the kids, but you have to kind of step back and go, well, how is my relationship with my own parents and my in-laws, and that forgiveness aspect is so vitally important. So I'm just so it's just amazing that you come from all different aspects. It's not just about the kids. It's about that community around them too.
Yes. Thank you, Julie. Yeah, that's definitely the goal. Because I have so many friends who are like, oh, I'm not a mom. I don't know if, and I'm like, no, it's not that kind of show. We're not talking about, sleep training and potty training. It's like the life lessons and legacy you want to leave. And you don't have to be a parent for that. I came across this quote that really described legacy so profoundly. It's not about what you leave behind. It's about the lives that you touch while you're here. So we all have a legacy.
I love that you're also answering the questions that I'm not asking, because I feel like I wanted to ask about the legacy, because you're in almost any information I see about your show, it's all about how are we leaving that legacy for our kids. So I just love that. You're that trained in news and interviewing. I love that. It's beautiful. Well, and speaking of which too, so, your show has received well over 1 million downloads. You have had this successful career, anchoring. Are you, in your mind, where you want to be and where you want to go?
Yeah. I feel like when you try to chase some sort of marker of success, when you get there, you're like, what's next? So I try not to do that anymore, because then it's just this never ending, you're reaching for this buoy and then you got to keep swimming. So, yeah.
I'm curious of what your morning routine is for some reason. I feel like you're pretty centered. I think I want to know, and I'm wondering if our listeners do too.
Yeah. Okay. So, I'll give you like the lowdown, because I'll just keep it real. I have read Robin Sharma's Power Hour, and it recommends that you wake up at 5 a.m. every day, and do, this kind of litany of things that are supposed to like set you up.
Yes.
But there are days where I do that. And then there's days that I don't, and I'm snoozing that extra 20 minutes. I wake up at 5:30, and after taking a few deep breaths, I do say an affirmation in the mirror right after brushing my teeth. That is something that's like quick, and it's, I'm not meditating for an hour. I can't. My kids need their breakfast. So I say, I am a happy soul. I have a healthy body. My relationships are in harmony. My work is perfect. My life is beautiful.
Okay, that is gorgeous.
Thank you. Very simple. It touches on all the things, mind, body, spirit. And then I go downstairs and I'm cutting apples and throwing popcorn.
It all washes away.
Whatever. So yeah. But then I do make sure to fill my cup again after I drop the kids off. So I have twins. Christian and Sohana are 7, and my younger son, Shrey, is 5. And believe me, when I had all 3 under 18 months, it was a frenzy. Like, we had different size diapers, different size bottles. It was insane. But now that they're 7 and 5.5, I have this breather. So after drop off, then I go to the gym, and that's when I get my workout in. And if I want to meditate afterwards, you can do it anywhere. There's times where I'll sit in the sauna for 10 minutes, and I'm kind of focusing on my breath, doing 4-7-8 breathing in the sauna. And then if you feel inspired, keep a journal with you and write all your thoughts out. If you can do morning pages in the morning, that's amazing. But if you know that you're pressed for time, you can carve it out later on in the day. But yeah, that's pretty much my routine.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm like, meditation in a sauna, don't threaten me with a good time. That sounds perfect.
Yes.
Speaking about your kids, yeah, you have they were, you had them all basically at once because you had your twins, and then within 18 months, is that correct?
Yeah.
You had said before?
Yes.
Yeah.
You got it.
Has there been anything that I'm sure it's constantly evolving, and this question, you probably have a million things that you kind of live by, but are there any little mottos or encouragement that you kind of take with you in your day whenever you're dealing with the kids?
There is. I had came across a friend. She told me how whenever she goes for her morning walk, she passes this old man who works at the gas station, and he always says, "Create a good day." Not have a good day. Create a good day. And I love that. I think, there's going to be challenging moments that trickle throughout the day. Fires to put out at work, in the home, with family, always. But if you make a conscious effort to choose joy, you feel that much more in control. Things aren't happening to you, they're happening for you. They're teaching you something. They're directing you on the right path. So create a good day.
With Mother's Day coming up, is there anything in particular that you're hoping for?
Ooh, I do love just spending time with the family. We often go to brunch, as most do. But I definitely want to do a nature walk. The weather is amazing right now. And I think just going on family walks is so fun because, not only are you getting your steps in, everyone kind of falls into a different conversation with someone else. And so I want that. I think that, now at this season of the kids' lives, it's this practice or this show or this play or whatever that we need to make time to just be out in nature, uninterrupted, no agenda.
Yeah.
Just talking about what's on our mind or what we see right in front of us. I think that just allows us to be present. And then, I do want to sleep in.
Which I think for you is like 6 a.m. Right?
Yeah, exactly. It's just the circadian rhythm is so messed up. It's like, what is that anymore? But even that, a nice like 10 hours. Oh, that would be amazing.
I'm getting to this point where I'm waking up earlier too, and I love it. But then I'm like, when am I getting this like sleep that is supposed to be really important for us?
Right. Yeah.
I would love to transition as we sort of like wrap things up just into people out there who are wanting to podcast or get into podcasting. I'd love to know if you had any tips, and I want to talk to you about your branding too, because you kill it. But my first question is really, what would you like for those people to know, those people that are wanting to make a podcast?
Yes. I have to say, like, every one of us has a story. Your experience is so unique, but you do have to hone the craft and be able to tell it in a compelling way. I think that's really, really important because, it's just, I think it's mushroomed and there's every second person. I joke because I have a mom show, but I'm like, everyone and their mother has a podcast. And I think
that's amazing. Yeah, I love that.
I think the idea is to make sure you have like a compelling hook, because sure, you can launch a show, but do you want to keep the show? You don't want to pod fade. It's the retention. Why do people keep coming back? And, don't think that it's like the bright, shiny objects, like the guests that keep it going. It's you, is your unique X factor. Because when guests are promoting a movie or, their New York Times like best-selling book, they're doing a road show of podcasts. Why does the listener make sure to subscribe to yours and tune in and have your voice in their earbuds every week? So you got to give them something. So I would say, make sure you have a really, like a unique, compelling, authentic topic and, concept in mind when you're about to launch your show. And get prepared. Have your wish list like day one. Who do you feel like this person embodies what the show is all about? And get it on that spreadsheet. I mean, I've had that since day one. It hasn't happened yet, but it's getting closer. But, it was like cell 1, Michelle Obama. So it'll happen. But
it's definitely, you're very close.
Yes. Yeah. And I just was like, I need to know who really encompasses what the show's about. So do that. Be consistent. It is a long game. You're not going to, become famous and have this top of the chart show overnight. And so you have to make sure that you commit, and it's like every week without fail. There's no holidays. There's no sick days. Somehow I'm used to this because of parenthood. You got to show up. Yeah. You got to show up. You got to release that episode. And so have that pipeline in place. I know when I first started, I had like a bank of 4 episodes recorded before. So that way it's like, I'm good for a month. If someone gets sick, if I have to travel, I have it ready. And then never look back, just full speed ahead after that.
And do you just see like multiple seasons coming up for yourself? Like, do you see it never ending?
Yeah, I do believe that like you have to go with what's trending and, pivot with the times. That's important. Podcasting has just kind of become this like ubiquitous, medium that we all use now. It's a revival of radio. It makes me think back to when I was doing my master's, and our professor, Sam Roberts, he was the executive producer at CBS for over 30 years to Walter Cronkite and Dan Rather and Mike Wallace. So he's OG in this field of news and television and broadcast. And, here we were studying Edward R. Murrow and how radio was how everyone in the country got to know what was happening during World War II. He would say, like, this is London, and give his report. And it's a revival of radio. That's what this is. It's the most intimate. You can passively listen and go about your day and, again, have these conversations as though two people or a host is talking in your living room. It's amazing. So I think that format isn't going to go anywhere, and history repeats itself. The fact that it came back, like, it had something. So yeah, I do see myself doing many, many seasons of the show, but iterating too. Like, maybe we take the show out on the road and I get back into field work, or do a talk show. That's the dream. Also, I'm manifesting that and putting that out there. But I think having a live component to a show where you see me interact with my guests, that would be amazing. But yeah, the listening experience, that's not going anywhere, in my opinion.
Really, truly, Kanika, thank you so much for joining us. It was amazing. You could interview yourself, quite frankly, and it was just awesome to learn about your background, your kids, and about some of the nuggets that you've had. So thank you so much.
You're so welcome. And I just want to take a moment to, wish everybody a happy Mother's Day. There's this quote I came across by Linda Wooten, who says, being a mother is learning about strengths you didn't know you had. And I find that every day. And, even if you're not a mom, one thing every single human being and organism on this planet is come from a mother. So that's a common thread that we have. We should appreciate, we should celebrate, and do something special for the moms in your life. And if you are one, take time for self-care.
Well said, Kanika. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. This was so fun.
That's Total Mom Sense is a must listen for moms everywhere. It's the encouragement from the women you know to keep going. That's a wrap for today's Evergreen Spotlight. Happy Mother's Day.